We're going to be joined now by the executive director of Chicago Debates, Dr. Toinette Gunn, who and I hope I got that one right. I reached out earlier today, like I said, to everybody to make sure I have the correct pronunciations of all of our guests and all of our collaborators. Dr. Gunn, how are you doing today? Do we have you up? Oh, there you are. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So tell us a little bit about Chicago Debates.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Chicago Debates is here in Chicago, and we're an organization that's really working to bridge the opportunity gap for Chicago public school students. We are offering a program for them that helps to cultivate their academic skills, their career and leadership skills, but also their social and life skills. And we do that through the activity of debate.
So my son went through some of the debate programs, and I have to say, tell us all about the day, because he was getting to some of these debate forums at like 7 a.m, and it goes on. For those who are not familiar with the format of a debate, what is the sort of idea behind these day-long sort of round robins? I don't know any other way to explain it.
Yeah, no, I think you're capturing it very well. It is a long day. And I think, so I'm not a former debater. I've worked in the nonprofit educational space for a long time, but I can definitely, as someone who's not a former debater, I definitely have great admiration for the activity and what they do. But what I immediately saw from the moment I joined the organization was the level of commitment that these students bring to this activity. And you really do have to be committed to be able to do what we offer at our organization is policy debate. And so it's pretty intensive. And so when you think about an athlete who spends hours a day training and practicing and things of that nature, debaters see this as, a sport of sorts. It's an academic sport. And just like any other sport that you're going to be good at or you want to be good at, it really does require a lot of time. And that's preparing for tournaments, and then the tournament day, which, as you prefaced all of this to say, it is very long. And so they start very early, 8:30ish, and they can go depending on whether they're winning. And it's a huge competitive edge to this, and students like to win. And so those that are winning can continue to go on to the award ceremony sometimes, which doesn't happen until like 5 o'clock. So it's like a full work day. Some tournaments go a Friday evening and a Saturday. And so students are definitely very committed to this activity. And just imagine what they're getting as a result of that level of intensity around academic cultivation.
And you bring up a great point about how athletes will train and spend days, and we don't really think much of it, right? They've got these tournaments that they go to. They travel for hours. And I just, and the other thing is, I don't think parents are allowed in these debates. So I never actually saw my son debate.
Well, they probably, your son probably doesn't want you in the room to see him debate.
Oh, I was lied to.
But what debaters will tell you is that debate isn't really a spectator sport. While they refer to it as a sport, it's not necessarily a spectator sport. However, we do on occasion set it up within our organization to allow people to tour a tournament, to be able to see what is going on. And so it requires some context for you to understand what you're walking into, so that you understand kind of what's happening, what you should be listening for, because again, as someone who's not a former debater, my introduction to this was awe and admiration in some sense, but also I was completely lost. I didn't know what was going on. They talk really, really fast. I describe it and compare it to like an auctioneer for policy debaters, because they're trying to get all of their evidence in. They know all of this information about this topic, and they're trying to recite it all, so that, because it's very timed. And so right. Very much like a court of law, where you can't, if you don't get your evidence, presented early on, you don't get to bring it up later. But they have a time limit. So when their time is up, they're trying to get it all in. So you have to really know what you're watching, or you'll just be very lost.
And when they are given their topics, they obviously don't get to choose which side.
So they don't get to choose, no. But the way policy debate works, there's a topic that is selected, and it's nationally selected for the entire year. And so within that topic, though, you can debate a number of different things within that topic. And just coincidentally, this year's topic, which was selected end of last year, beginning of the year, is on criminal justice reform. And so it hits really close to home that we have students who have been taught and trained on how to use their voices, empowering them to know how to do that, to enact change, are now in the midst of everything that's happening in the world, are debating and learning all about criminal justice reform. And by the time they finish debating on that topic between now and April, they will be subject matter experts on this topic of criminal justice reform. And I have no doubt that we'll see that spark additional interest in different things on the policy level, and just encouraging students to do more within their community.
One of the themes that runs through many of the movies that are in ChangeFest regarding education deal with establishing a foundation and, teaching social skills and empathy, interpersonal relationships. So what is the age group? Is this all high schoolers that are involved in the Chicago debates?
It is not. And so we are district-wide across Chicago Public Schools. We work in partnership with the district. And we start as young as 5th grade. And so 5th grade through 12th grade, debate is open if it's at a student's school. And that's our charge at this point, is we have all of the evidence, empirical and both anecdotal, about the positive impact that debate has on students in their lives and how transformational it can be. So we want this in every school, but funding doesn't necessarily allow that. And so in the movie, starting from zero, I watched that, and yes. It is certainly reinvigorating to watch something like that, to know that there are best practices, there are districts and states somewhere doing this and doing it well, so that ideally a program like Chicago Debates won't need to exist in the way that it exists today if we get it right. Because if we start young, there isn't a need for where we speak about, we're bridging an opportunity gap. There won't be a gap to bridge, right? Debate can be continue to be an activity, but not for the purpose of students who aren't getting something based on where they live, their zip code, the school that they attend. And so hopefully, we can get it right and invest heavily early on so that programs like ours can be available for sport and not for supplementing education in the way that it's happening now.
Well, and you mentioned that film starting at zero. It's sort of startling to realize that Alabama is doing it right. I'm always disappointed to hear of all these other states that do so much work when it comes, and they talked about looking at other states, and that's something that we need to do, because in Illinois we don't. And I know we have an audience around the world, but in Illinois and in many parts of the country, I would say for the most part, the way we fund education is not reflective of our values. Would you agree?
I completely agree. It's baffled me probably since I was a little girl why some people have more than others. And it's probably the thing that was seeded for me very early on, having been, a first generation college student coming from low income family, just really wondering why we don't do more and invest more in what I would consider our most prized possession, our young people. And not just because I'm a mother and I'm raising, boys, but it's for our future. If we are not properly educating kids today, what will that mean for later on? And so to me, it makes all the sense, and always has, that we invest early and heavily so that it benefits everyone in the long run. If we're educating our community well, and we just don't do a good job of that, which again is why a program like Chicago Debates exists, because here in Chicago and in other urban areas as well, where we're not unique, there is a real opportunity gap, educational gap. Students do not have access. Students do not have opportunities. Students do not have quality education. Just based on where they live. their family socioeconomic status, all of the above. And so if we can do more, we need to do more, bottom line. And we have to do that early. We know that students, the brain activity and how students learn and develop, young people do so that at their greatest level when they're young, when they're little. And so we have to start there so that programs like ours won't be needed to supplement.
I agree. What can you tell us about the sort of social skills that are developed in participating in debate?
Yeah, so when you think about the social emotional aspect, what a lot of the films were touching on, debate really does help students to cultivate those skills like communication. I mean, so many of the films talked about how we have just lost the ability to engage with one another and communicate with one another, but it certainly helps to build communication skills. It helps to build teamwork and collaboration. It helps to establish empathy and helping them to cultivate that skill. And what I mean by that is debate, policy debate in particular, is teaching students to look at things from every side. So you mentioned earlier about they don't know what they're going to debate. There's a negative and there's an affirmative, and they have to argue at some point both sides. And so you have to prepare to be able to attack the argument from any side. But what that does, if you look at how that translates then outside of debate, is I can listen to you with civility and we can have civil discourse because I understand it differently. And that is a level of empathy to be able to do that. And we just know that that is a skill that not every young person or adult for that matter has. And so debate helps to do that. There are some real critical thinking skills that debate helps to develop that these young people will be the ones to figure these challenges out that we have just not been able to figure out because you're cultivating their mind to think in a particular way, very solution oriented. But again, understanding that multiple views and perspectives need to be at the table, analytical skills. They're also able to, read large amounts of information, analyze that information, and then be able to come back with arguments, to support one thing or another. And so I could go on and on about, the skills, but what you'll hear, Patti, from students more than anything, I'm a parent, I'm, a leader in, an educational nonprofit. And so I always go to kind of those skills that I just mentioned. But what you'll hear from students time and time again is the community that is built and fostered in debate and how they find community, they find home, they find a connection. And again, those things all help us to be better when we're able to connect with people and build relationships with people.
Well, as I mentioned, my son has done debate for years. Doesn't mean that he doesn't think I'm just wrong about everything, and not from a debating point of view. How can people support the work that you do? How can they get involved?
Sure. Certainly they can go to our website. They can follow us at Twitter, Instagram at Chicago Debates. But we are always looking for volunteers who are interested in judging a tournament. And so no need to be intimidated by that. We have blocks of time that you can give to judge and help students to hone their skills. We have sponsorship opportunities. We are always looking, because we're a nonprofit organization, always looking for donors to support our work, to sponsor tournaments and things of that nature. And so no shortage of a need for dollars, especially in this world that we're in today. But volunteering is probably the greatest thing that someone can do in giving of their time, whether that's as a judge, whether that's as a board member. Those opportunities exist, and we encourage people to get involved in the community, to get involved.
And where can they go to join you in the work that you're doing?
ChicagoDebates.org is our website. You can go there and get tons of information, but you can also send us, fill out the form to say that you are interested in learning more or getting involved, and we will be in touch. Because again, we're always looking for support. You can act as an ambassador for us. You saw us here tonight spread the word, share the information. We're planning to be in 95 schools across the Chicago Public School District this year. So chances are we exist in one of your in your child's school if you are a Chicago Public School parent.
Well, thank you so much for the work that you do, for touching so many lives, for getting my kid out of the house for about 12 hours on a Saturday. No, I really, I'm grateful for the work that you do. And it is so crucial that we help kids and our future adults learn how to be civil with each other and understand the inside and outside of an argument. So thank you very much for everything.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Be well. We look forward to hearing all the work that you do going forward.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.